So good afternoon, everybody. Hope you enjoy the coffee. It's my absolute pleasure to be here and to have accepted the invite from Dr. Bahia to join the Congress for the very first time. Love India, love everything about India. I worked here for 2 years with a company called FCI, an automotive manufacturing company who built connectors for automotive. And we had 2 very large facilities in Cochin in Kerala. So I'm not new to India, even if I am new to Mumbai and to this region. The topic that I've chosen is very much focused around change and transformation, and it was my pleasure over the last couple of days while I was here to actually take in some of the tourist spots of India. So I actually completed in 2 days the Golden Triangle. So it was a little bit challenging in terms of time, etc., but an absolute must for anybody who hasn't done it. So HR's role in leading large-scale transformation is something that's, not new to me at all. I have worked as CHRO for the company that I'm with right now for the last, maybe 2 to 3 years, specifically. Sorry, the slides are doing its own thing here, so guys, I might need to get some help again. Okay, it seems we're back in business. I just wanted to, as I said, take the opportunity to share some of my insights around, HR-led transformations. And I've always relied on 3 pillars to actually drive the change and transformation in the organizations that I've worked in. And I'm just going to briefly share with you those 3 topics, those 3 areas that as I said, I've highly relied on for the last couple of years. I've worked in many global organizations in many different countries. I've worked in 21 countries across all of the continents. And basically, I've always relied on just 3 axes or 3 areas to support change and transformation initiatives within the organizations I've worked in. So the very first anchor to leading large-scale operational transformation is, in fact, in the space of leadership development. We've heard a lot today. We've heard from our last 2 speakers about leadership development and about culture. And again, I'm not going to speak about anything too different from any of that, but I think there's just a couple of points that I would like to emphasize as a HR practitioner, taking the lead on implementing large-scale initiatives within your own organization. Having that responsibility on your shoulders is obviously something that you can be very proud of. If it goes well, it's something that, is obviously when there's change going on in an organization, HR is highly visible. What HR is doing is highly visible. So picking the right anchors and picking your battles really is very important. So leadership development is the first area. Culture and innovation. So we've heard the last 2 speakers, as I say, speak a lot about culture, redefining culture in change situations, and I suppose the space for innovation, the actual role of innovation in change management is huge. And then finally, I'm going to touch on the subject of HR technology. I work for a HR software organization. Core HR is in that space of HCM software. I'm not here today to sell Core HR's product, but I certainly am here to speak about the role of HR technology in leading large-scale change initiatives. So from a leadership development perspective, it is as important for leaders to unlearn as it is for them to learn. And basically, unlearning in the change context is very relevant. So therefore, it is really, really important that any of your leadership development programs actually covers this angle. So we must unlearn what we've learned, because a conditioned mind cannot comprehend. Sorry, the slides are still doing their own thing. An unconditioned mind cannot. So the concept of unlearning is hugely, hugely critical. And really, if you don't have it covered off in your leadership development programs, you are missing a beat. You're missing a beat because, as the first statement makes here, we must unlearn what we've learned because a conditioned mind cannot comprehend the infinite. So we heard some of the speakers previously this morning speak about, not confining yourself to limitations in your business. And that's exactly what that statement is making. And it's what we think we know which keeps us from learning. So any change or development initiative that you will implement in your organizations needs to include that component for the leadership development program to be successful. And then I'm a huge fan of Steve Covey. And if we think about this statement, common sense is not always common practice in organizations, and particularly when it comes to leadership development and frontline leadership actually leading change within the organization. The last speaker spoke about situations where HR doesn't lead the change. The frontline managers need to lead the change, but it's the HR strategy to support that which is obviously critical. And returning to basics. So leadership development programs, if you're not addressing the very basics on leading people, and if you're trying to all of the time focus on best practice, as we heard the last speaker say, best practice is only best practice if it works in your organization. So returning to the basics, looking at what's working in your organization, what's not working in your organization, and developing your leadership development program around that. So keeping a focus on 4. I like the number 4 because we remember 4 things. People say, well, you could argue that it's 3 because there is a reason why. We heard about the 3 little pigs and the 3 sheep, and the fairy tales always seem to have 3s. But I think 4 is a good number. 4 is a good number because we, within our organization, we picked 4 individual objectives. We've heard the question come from the floor during the last speaker's talk about what makes us, how do we connect? How do we give that line of sight to our employees? And I would be suggesting you focus on no more than 4 things at a time. You give people 4 goals and objectives, that's it. You don't crowd people with crowding the minds and having situations where it's taking up rent in your brain where you're trying to focus on 20 or 30 things. Narrow the focus for your employees. And the same with your leadership development programs, you narrow the focus to 4. So the first component of any leadership development that's worth doing will be around the area of thought leadership. The second, results leadership, all about execution. The third component is around personal leadership. We've heard many discussions and debates around personal leadership and building self-awareness throughout the morning. And finally, the people leadership. So without those 4 components, I would say you should be, if you have leadership development initiatives going on in your organization right now, you need to think about those 4 quadrants. And if any one of those components are missing from the development program, then you really should rethink. And you should view the unlearning process as the first step to rejuvenation. So the unlearning for leaders that have the conditioned minds on old ways of doing things, they need time, they need help, they need support to unlearn those bad habits that may exist. The focus that I'm going to give today is on personal leadership because I do personally believe that this is the single most important component and should be the single most important component in your people development strategy or your leadership development strategy. And really building self-awareness, self-knowledge, understanding what makes you tick, understanding what gets you going, what irritates us, what energizes us, how do we emotionally react to situations that we find ourselves in. And this is particularly relevant in the change context. So the most critical and the most valuable component of your leadership development program needs to be on your personal leadership. I love Carl Jung. Who knows Carl Jung? And I absolutely think that that is a very relevant statement, and I see a lot of you taking pictures there of that. So it's very relevant because everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. I think that is a really, really powerful statement. It's very leveling and it's very thought-provoking for me. So I wanted to bring that slide, bring that piece of quote from Carl Jung into the mix to my presentation today, and I hope you appreciate it. Personal leadership for me is all about understanding my world. So when I focus on developing leadership programs, it will always have a focus on the entire world of the leader. My ways, how do I like to do things? How do I like to go about my work? It's very personal to every individual leader. My motivations, what makes me want to work in this particular company? What makes me want to be a leader in this particular organization? My preferences in terms of how I like to lead. And I'll speak a little bit more about that component in a few moments. And then finally, my learning. Am I learning? Am I developing? Am I growing? So this is what personal leadership is all about for me. This is how I see personal leadership. It's about the entire world of the leader, not just their work life. It's really more about your entire world and bringing all of that together. Making all those components work together is really where your leadership development programs should be focused. It's about me getting to know me. That is what personal leadership is about. It's about that's what self-awareness is all about, me getting to know me. And me giving me a chance to see things differently. If you don't see things differently, you will narrow your options. So without having that self-awareness, you don't really have a lot of options when you go to making decisions, when you go to trying to mobilize support for what you're doing. If you don't have that deep sense of self-awareness, then you're really limiting your options. What do you see? Anybody? What do you see? What's that? A bird. Thank you, Roberta. A rabbit. Who sees the rabbit? Can those who see the rabbit also see the bird? No? And Roberta here up the front saw the duck or the bird first. Can you see the rabbit now, Roberta? Okay. So, the lesson in that is, when we change the way we look at things, the things that we look at change. So we all look at the same thing and we all might see something completely different. So having the level of awareness that the people that you lead will also have a different way of seeing things will help you to lead those people better. So again, I mentioned I'm here just to share my own experiences. Choosing the psychometric tool that you would use in your leadership development program is vitally important. It needs to be safe. It needs to be fun to share with others. It needs to articulate well. So the results out of psychometric analysis need to be safe to share. We need to have situations where they don't stigmatize. I'm sure we've all used different types of psychometric tools in leadership development programs down through the years. And I've certainly used probably all of them that are on the market. I would suggest that you should look at Insights Discovery. As I said, I'm not here to promote their tool, but I use it. Each and every leadership development program for no matter what organization I'm leading their change initiative, I always use Insights Discovery because it ticks the 3 boxes there for me. It's safe. People feel safe to share the information, and it's fun. It can be quite funny when you look at certain ways that certain phrases maybe that it uses to describe you. So it's safe to share. It articulates the value of every profile type. So if you're a red, or if you're a yellow, or if you're a green, it articulates very well so that you're not you're not choosing certain profiles that are ideal. It's a very safe tool to use. It's great fun. All of our leaders in core HR have been through Insights Discovery. They give you a little yellow and green and blue bricks, and you put your dominant color on top, and it looks like a little Lego stack. So when you walk in the office of leaders, you can see their profile, and the teams all understand if they come to Sharon, they should not come with details. So my blue color is very low. Like all our accountants, all our IT people are all high blue people. Our sunshine yellows, they're all our sales guys. Everything is great. The world is wonderful. All the sales guys will always be in the yellow category. HR typically is red. HR typically, we're the directors, we're the controllers. So typically we're the red profiles. So take a look at it. It's a very easy language to comprehend. You're not confusing people. You know, I mean, right across our organization right now, we talk about you're having a really bad red day today, Sharon. My team would say to me, if I'm, you know, just please do, get this done, they're saying you're having a bad red day. A good red day would be where you're assertive and you're making decisions, and so there's you can have a good and a bad day in each of the colors. So take a look at it. I think it's a very interesting tool. If there's anybody here from Insights, you might make yourself known. I don't believe there is anybody here. I didn't see them on the listing, but fantastic tool. So the next topic that I wanted to share is, I've mentioned 3 things that I always rely on. Culture and innovation is, for me, I suppose I would concur with a lot of what was said in the last 2 sessions, but I would say, I would take it a step further, that if you're like the banking organization that Dennis described earlier, or David described earlier, where the folks don't know the culture, and you haven't actually written any values or statements. So if it's something that hasn't been a focus for your organization, which was the situation I found myself in when I joined Core HR, there was no values or statements. You could sense the culture was going on, but it wasn't written anywhere. Folks didn't really talk about it. The performance management system certainly didn't refer to the how we get things done. So I decided to pass the baton to the employees. Here you go. You define, you write the value statements, you let the leadership know what you think about our culture. And they did just that. They've just actually completed the project. They wrote the values. They wrote 3 associated behaviors with each of the values, and I will share them with you just in a few minutes. And they actually went out to a graphic design company to ask, they had a budget, and they went out to a graphic design company to help them to graphically describe what they were saying in the values. And we were absolutely, at the executive level, we were astounded when they returned the results to us through presentation last week. So I'm going to show them to you. So what that did, it drove a spirit of unity in the organization. So the team was picked. They chose themselves. They chose their own governance as to how they were going to collect everybody's input. They, as I said, they came up with 5 values themselves. Now, of course, they were validated at the very end of the process by the executive team, but they were very much around empowerment and accountability. And it brought a tremendous sense of pride to the employees and to us on the executive team. So I would suggest to you that if you don't have your value statements written, that you would consider taking that approach if your organization can culturally tolerate that type of approach. This was the first value that they came up with, value statement. So one team, one vision, very simple graphics. Moving forward together with united purpose. The second statement, I absolutely loved this one. The human pyramid, very simple approach to describe individually accountable but collectively successful. For me, that says it all. And again, it comes back to the question that was asked in the earlier session around, individual, how you draw the line between the individual and the team, and how you drive accountability. I think that statement said it all for me, bringing pride to whatever we do. The third one was very commitment to greatness and delivering excellence to our customers. As I say, these are the words of our employees, not us. And this one, actually, I loved this one, the hashtag core self, hashtag core united. This is all about creating positive energy at work. Coming to work every day, being positive, having that positive mindset that we can make a difference and we can do things together, we can have fun together, and we will transmit that positive energy to each other. So they, as I said, they crafted 3 very specific behaviors that they've associated with each of these. And the final one, they didn't forget about enhancing lives, contribute, learn, grow, and give back. And I just thought that, you know, really, I suppose why I'm sharing this with you is we passed that baton to our employees. We have like 400 employees in Ireland, and passing them that responsibility, they took it very, very seriously. It took them a number of weeks to come up. It was all about the wording. It was all about less about the graphics and more about the words. So something else that I wanted to share with you is around again, innovation. And, you know, valuing and promoting innovation within your workplaces, particularly in times of change and transformation, is absolutely critical. And giving your employees time to think. I love that. Edison's electric light did not come about from the continuous improvement of the candle. So you must give your employees time to think. So we give every employee 2 innovative thinking days per year, and every idea is reviewed and respected as having the potential to be our next game changer. We review every single idea at the executive level. The previous speaker also referred to Steve Jobs, and I have to just refer to him in this frame. So the ones who are crazy enough to think that they can change the world are those who do. So he lived through that. So the HR technology is the final area that I would like to propose as being the third pillar or cornerstone to managing transformation within your business. And if we take a view of the micro trends driving the need for reinvention of HR software, the change in the technology landscape, the always-on world that we now live in, we have, I mean, how many of us would even think about coming here today without our mobile in our pocket? Changes in the way that we work and the shift from the individual to team-centric organizations and the emerging evolution of the contingent or the transient worker. Our last speaker spoke about the gig economy. So having the right HR technology to guide you through the transformation is absolutely vital. So changes in how we communicate, the massive shift away from email right now and the more movement to employee engagement platforms that we're seeing, having the right technology within your business to actually power the engagement is critical. And even if we were to take a very quick look through the evolution of HR software technology over the past couple of years, you'll see us, you know, moving from the system, the HR system of track, manage, administer, to the talent management systems, you know, hiring, training, managing and enabling people, to the shift to systems of engagement, engaging, empowering and connecting with our people, and now moving into this as a system of productivity, helping me to get my work done in a productive and a healthy way. So you really do need to consider the role of your HR software in leading large-scale transformations. So imagining the world of artificial intelligence and predictive analysis, imagine if you as a HR leader was able to accurately predict your talent and your flight risks within your business, if you were able to predict the employee lifetime value, and being able, obviously, to predict your hiring and your turnover modeling is something that your HR software needs to be doing for you. As I said, I'm not here to sell core HR, but it's vital that in managing large-scale HR-led transformation across your business, you need to be focused on those 3 components: leadership development, the culture, defining or redefining, if applicable, your culture, giving your employees time to think, giving them space to think, because remember, in a change situation, you're very oftentimes working in what's a very chaotic environment. As you're changing and as you're unraveling things, you are generating an environment. It can be an environment of chaos for your employees. Give them the time out of that operational chaos. Give them time to think. And finally, get ahead of the game with your HCM technology, because without that, you're going to struggle in a large-scale transformation. So that's all I had for you today. My time is up. Sorry that we had a little bit of a rocky start with the technology. So I'll be around for the next 2 days if anybody wants to speak to me. And again, thank you for taking the time to be here.